Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will now begin the workshop. First, I just want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we're very happy you're with us on this Thursday evening. I hope you're all doing well. Here's a bit of our agenda of what we will be doing today. Miss Martin, well, David, is Miss Martin joining us? No, right?
No, I didn't get a response.
Okay. Well, we were going to have Miss Martin from the LA Wellness Station come to speak to us a bit about this project. For those of you who don't know, the Wellness Station is at the corner of 54th and Long Beach in Pueblo del Rio. And the renovations we'll be talking about for this workshop will happen partly around the Wellness Station in that green space surrounding the Wellness Station. So we're hoping she would join us, but I don't think she'll be able to. After that, we will have a guest presentation by Aaron Thomas of Northeast Trees, where he will talk about the wider South Central Los Angeles greening project and the benefits of drought tolerant plants and trees. It would be a great conversation. After that, we'll talk a little bit more about how plants help conserve water, what it is that people can do, what residents can do in order to conserve water. This also applies to businesses. After that, we will discuss some Los Angeles Department of Water and Power programs to help you reduce your water use and save money. After that, near the end of the workshop, we will talk about the Pueblo del Rio Greening Survey, which we'll be launching shortly. But we'll be going over the questions and letting you know what it is we hope to get answers about and to answer any questions or feedback you may have. So we've asked this before. Oh, sorry. I should say, if this is your first workshop with us, thank you for joining us. We had our first pair of workshops 2 weeks ago. And if there's anything that confuses you or you want us to explain more because you might have missed the previous workshop, please let us know, raise your hand or type in the chat box and we will answer your questions. But first, just wanted to know, raise your hand, press the raise hand emoji if you live in Pueblo del Rio. Great. Great, thank you. Please lower your hands. Second, please raise your hand if you live in the neighborhood around Pueblo del Rio, but not in Pueblo del Rio. Great. Lastly, I know I mentioned this, but if this is your first time with us at these workshops, please raise your hand so we know you're new and we can welcome you. Great. Looks like we have people who were here at our previous workshops. That's great to know. Just to introduce ourselves again, this project or the project team for the Pueblo del Rio Greening Project is composed of, some of them are here with us. First is David de la Cruz, who is one of the founders or co-founders of The Urban Studio. He's here with us. Myself, Diego Renteria, a project coordinator working with The Urban Studio on this project. And we have 6 youth team members. They all live in Pueblo del Rio. And they've been part of us for a few months, learning about architecture, urban planning, landscape architecture, the environment, and urban forestry, and exploring careers and learning about water and energy conservation. Our youth team members are Sandy Garcia, Leslie Germán, Uciel Márquez, Kelsey Ramos, Fernando Rivas Flores, and Tanaya Rush. So thanks to them for being part of this team. The Pueblo del Rio Greening Project, this is an image of the Los Angeles Wellness Station, which is where some of this greening will take place in the green space, the park that surrounds the building, the Wellness Station. This is part of a larger tree planting project in the neighborhood by Northeast Trees. Aaron Thomas of Northeast Trees will share some more information about this project later in the workshop. Before we go any further, I want to mention that this project is between a number of people, or groups, I should say, the Urban Studio, Northeast Trees. It's supported by a grant from the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Other aspects of the project or of a related project are supported by a grant from the State Natural Resources Agency, and also with the very generous help and support of the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, who owns this property. So thanks to all of them for assisting us and helping us with this. The workshop schedule, thank you all for coming. This is the second workshop. We have another workshop on Saturday of this week. The information in this workshop and that workshop will be the same. So don't feel that you have to come to the next one on Saturday, but if you want to, please join us. We'd be happy to have you. We had 2 workshops 2 weeks ago. The topic was energy conservation. The topic for this week's workshops are water conservation and what can be done in order to help you save money and save water. And also what are some of the effects of not conserving water. I'm sure you've heard some of that in the news recently with talking about dam or lakes being very dry. We'll talk about that a little bit. And in the third workshop in 2 weeks, we will discuss the survey, which will be anonymous. So we can hear about your feedback about what you would like to see at the wellness station or at another site at Pueblo del Rio. And also David will share some initial sketches that he will prepare by then, just to get some ideas flowing. And we can talk more about the next steps of the project. The third workshop will be held on Tuesday, August 24, 6 to 8 p.m., just like right now. And also Saturday, August 28th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So feel free to join us whenever you would like. It has, to log in, it's the same meeting information as this workshop, so it'll be easy for you to join us. Oh, one last thing. As of now, work is scheduled to begin at the wellness station sometime this fall. It all depends on how COVID and other factors help us. Sorry, Ms. Martin was going to join us and share a few words about the wellness station. David, is there something you would like to say?
Yeah, I can share a little bit about just the relationship that we built with Miss Martin and all of that. So just gonna jump in real quick. So where do I start? So it's been about 4 or 5 years since I've known personally Miss Martin, and ever since like I got back from school, got back from Seattle, made it down to Los Angeles, I knew that this was just like a really important resource for the community in Pueblo del Rio and the community in Council District 9. And so like in kind of just building relationships with her, we were able to host and work together on a youth program about 2 years ago. And ever since, like, we started conversations together, it's been my goal to really work towards landscape renovations at this site to really support her with supporting the programming that happens there, figuring out how to support the programming to bring it outdoors. And luckily, through our partnership with the Northeast Trees and through our partnership with HACLA, we've been able to really put together a really compelling case for these landscape renovations at the wellness station. And we're seeing the fruits of these ideas that have been basically talked about for the past 5 years. So it's really exciting to see this come into fruition. Although I'm not in the area like these days, I moved back up to Seattle for work reasons. I still am really like just in touch with folks in the area. My mom still lives in the community and the neighborhood. And yeah, so just wanted to give that opening words. Most likely we'll have Miss Martin drop in on Saturday so that she can share more about her ideas for the vision for these landscape renovations. We've been able to kick off a conversation with her just last week with the Northeast Trees team and with us, just to keep the conversation going about what's possible. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Davi. And now we will have a guest presentation by Aaron Thomas of Northeast Trees. He will talk about the South Central Los Angeles greening project in the neighborhood around Pueblo del Rio, kind of what's expected to happen in the next few years. Also talk about some of the connections between plants and water conservation, and also the importance of drought-tolerant plants and Southern California native plants in conserving water. Aaron, please, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share yours. And also feel free to unmute yourself, and the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Let's see if I can figure it out. Can everyone see this screen? It says South Central LA Greening Project. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're getting some positive
You have
yeses.
to, I apologize. I'm a little slow. I've been doing Zoom for the past year, like everyone, but it's always a learning experience, even for older people like myself. We learn new things all the time. So let me first introduce myself, Aaron Thomas. I'm the Urban Forestry Manager with Northeast Trees. And as Diego and Davi have explained, we're one of the partners, one of the lead partners on these greening efforts in and around Pueblo del Rio. Now, let me go through my my title. Urban forestry. Can I ask questions of you all? Does that make sense to you? Urban forestry. You're welcome to just share it in the chat or whatever. But like the name implies, I do forestry, which means I work with a lot of trees in an urban area, in cities, in particular in Los Angeles. And I work with Northeast Trees. I've been there for almost 30 years. I've been planting trees, maintaining and caring for trees in our city for nearly 30 years. It's something that I'd like to hopefully encourage young people in particular, like yourselves, to consider as a possible career, or even just to do it for a short period of time, because it's very rewarding. Otherwise, I would not have been doing it this long. Since the topic today is water conservation, have you all discussed the origin, where our water originates in Los Angeles, where it comes from?
We did touch upon it briefly, and I am going to mention it later, actually, just about the three main aqueducts. But please feel free to share your information.
Well, no, I just want to. I'll let you go into detail later. I don't want to. I want to stay in my lane. So, but it's very important that we recognize and that we are aware that the water that we consume and use in Los Angeles is imported from far away, from other places in the United States or in the state of California. and water is scarce, and more people are using it. And so conserving water is an important part of our future and our quality of life. So I'm going to tie this into the greening project that we have and talk to you all a little bit of how do trees play a role in water conservation, and how do plants, native plants, or what we call drought tolerant plants, how do they play a role in how we conserve water? So, but I'm primarily going to describe the South Central LA Greening Project. As was mentioned earlier, this project is funded by the Natural Resources Agency of California. And I don't know how to advance the slides here. Weird.
Just press right arrow or
There-
enter.
So the description of the project that I'll be discussing is we're going to plant over 600 street trees, which are the trees that go in between the sidewalk and the street, within about a mile of Pueblo del Rio. That's a lot of trees for a pretty small area, but that's how we do it at Northeast Trees. We like to put as many trees as possible into areas that need it most. So I'll describe our survey of the neighborhood, and you'll get to see some maps of how, where the trees are supposed to go. I will also discuss the City Plants program, which was mentioned in the previous workshop, but I'll just go over it again because it's important to know that most of the space for trees in our city is in the people's yards. We can plant a lot of trees by the street, but it's important that we plant trees or get people to plant trees in their yard, because that's where most of the space is and where we can put trees that get really big. And I'll talk about that also. The project is also going to include adding 100 more trees to inside of Pueblo del Rio. These are all shade trees, and they will be drought tolerant. They don't use a lot of water. I'll talk about in general, the use of drought tolerant plants and trees, and how we're going to incorporate or include the use of those plants in the park renovation that we're doing, which is in the western section of Pueblo del Rio in the newer area, over on the other side of the blue line. And we'll look at the kind of a layout of that. There's a conceptual plan, and you can see some of the plants that we may use. And finally, I'm gonna discuss how we employ and train young people as part of our projects. So this, if you can see, is a map of the area, the neighborhood around Pueblo. We're not going to plant to the east of Pueblo because that's a whole other city. As you all know, that's Vernon, and it's all industrial, and there's nowhere to plant even if we wanted to. So all of the trees we're going to be planting are in the city of Los Angeles, and within a mile, like I said, within about a mile of Pueblo. And so it basically will extend between Long Beach Avenue and Avalon. Long Beach to the east, Avalon to the west, and then Vernon to the north, down to Slauson to the south. So every green dot that you see on this map represents where we have determined there's possibly room to plant a new tree. So that's a lot of trees. Obviously, unfortunately, right now, there are not enough trees in this neighborhood. Especially with climate change and the way the planet is heating up, and it's getting hotter and hotter in places like Los Angeles, it's extremely important that we provide tree canopy and shade for people who live in these neighborhoods so that they can have a good quality of life. Um, the shade is going to be very important because underneath the shade of a tree, the temperature can be 20 degrees less than when you're in the open and in full sun. So that's quite a lot. And if we don't plant trees, people will suffer, and it can have very bad effects on people's health. Things like heat stroke, heat exhaustion, um, and many other health issues can arise from the lack of trees and the lack of shade. But we probably all know that trees do more than just provide shade. That's very important with the heat. However, trees also clean the air. They remove dangerous pollution, and they clean the air and provide oxygen for us to breathe. Now, we all know there's a lot of trucks, a lot of there's a train, big diesel trains that go up Alameda. All of that pollution coming from the cars, buses, trains, the airplanes that fly overhead cause really bad health effects on the people. And so these trees will be one way that we can help to clean the air. And that's also extremely important. But in general, they're going to beautify the neighborhood also. People need beauty. I know I do. I like to look out my window. I like to look out my window and see green. So those are some of the benefits of trees. But trees actually conserve water also. And I know tonight we're supposed to be talking about conservation of water. How do you save water? Well, trees absorb water through their leaves and through their roots, and they store that water and put it back into the ground where water can then become part of the natural system um, that we live in. So think of a tree as a big water tank almost. There's thousands of gallons of water inside of a tree. Each one of these dots that you see on this map is going to help capture water, slow it down, and put it back into the ground where it needs to be for the people and the animals and wildlife that live in this area. In addition to planting the over 600 trees, we're going to be providing trees to people, residents who want to plant trees in their yard. Now, this does not apply, as you probably heard, this does not apply to residents in Pueblo del Rio. You don't need to order trees to plant outside of your unit because we're already doing it. We're already going to do that. We're going to plant beautiful trees for you. And the housing authority is very strict about making sure residents just don't plant trees because sometimes they may plant a tree that's not appropriate or not doesn't have the right amount of room, and it could cause some problems if they get planted too close to the building, or if they get planted on top of a gas or a water line, or if they interfere with safety and security cameras or lights, things like that. So the residents of Pueblo may not be able to use this program, but we would like to work with the residents, maybe it'll be this youth group, to help us get these trees into the surrounding neighborhood for people to plant in their yards. Now, smaller plants, I think that's fine. I don't want to speak for the housing authority, but there could be an opportunity for residents to plant in front of their units, but just not trees. Trees are a whole other category of plant. They are big and they can cause damage if you don't know what you're doing. So we are working. I'm a certified arborist. We have to have professionals come in and work with the housing authority to determine where trees are going to be planted. And if anyone wants to ask questions at this point, please feel free at any time.
Great, thanks, Aaron. I actually had a question that just wrote into the chat box. Thank you for mentioning that thing about public housing residents not being able to request trees for their yards. But I wanted to know if Pueblo del Rio residents could request trees from city plants to have them planted in the public grass, that little greenway between the sidewalk and the curb. Is that something Pueblo del Rio residents could do?
You mean at Pueblo?
Yeah, like if a resident from Pueblo del Rio calls and asks if they could plant a tree, there's like a...
So that's what the plan that I'm showing you here, which we actually have put together a couple years ago, shows you where we're planting trees at Pueblo del Rio. And so, yeah, we will be planting in all of the public areas, in front of every unit where there's room for a tree. So if your unit, maybe you guys need to study this plan a little bit, and if you live there, try to figure out where you are. We've planted at Pueblo del Rio over the past 10 or 15 years. So most of these areas already have trees. If they don't have trees, it's because there's something like a sewer line or a gas line or a water line or power lines that will prevent us from being able to plant there. We can't plant a tree on top of a gas line, for example. So just because it looks like empty green area doesn't mean that there's room for a tree. We have to be very careful, and I would love to give a whole class just on urban forestry and teaching people about proper spacing and how to properly select where trees go. But tonight you just have to take my word. We put a lot of thought and a lot of planning and coordination with the housing authority to develop these plans. But we will plant wherever there is room at Pueblo, so you don't have to worry about ordering trees from city plants. We got you covered. Now this plan also, you'll see in the left-hand corner, it shows the site where we're going to be doing a little improvement in the park, and that's, if you're not familiar with it, there's a running track, little exercise track, and a play set there, but it's mostly, I mean, most of the year it's just a dirt, there's nothing, there's no grass or greenery. So we really want to fix that area up and make it more beautiful and inviting and functional.
Aaron, there was another question in our chat, came from one of our youth team members. If you could go back to the map, it's relevant to the map.
This one?
No, the one right before. Yeah, that one.
Oh.
So Uciel of the youth team asked, most of the trees planned look to be on the top or northern half of Pueblo del Rio, and he wants to know what's the reason for that.
Yeah, like I said, we have planted at Pueblo. You may have seen, if you've been there long enough, you've seen us planting there for over 10, 15 years. So we are really going and replacing trees that which didn't survive. But if you don't see dots, it's because there's already trees there. They may be small and you don't see it, and this is I don't know, this satellite image is, you don't have a lot of detail, but the back of the units is where the sewer lines run and the utilities. So none of those are getting trees right away, right off the bat. That's a lot of open space, but they won't let us plant big trees in the back side of the units. So only the front of the units will be getting trees. Most of them have already been planted from either the 1940s when the place was built originally, or over the past 15 years, we've planted quite a few trees. So we're really just filling in where there's room. Now, If you think there's somewhere in particular that we missed, I'm very much interested in hearing from you as residents, as young people who are trying to improve their environment. We can always add more trees, don't worry. So, a planting plan, this is just a draft, it's not final. We always end up putting in more trees than we originally thought. So, for example, recently we've been doing work at Gonzac and Imperial Courts and Nickerson Gardens. Are you all familiar with those sites and what? Anyway, we're doing a project there to put in 200 trees, but that ended up turning into almost 250 trees because a lot of people were requesting that we add, you know, additional trees where we could find space. So this is a work in progress, and I'm more than happy to hear feedback or input from the residents, from you young people, to make sure that we meet the needs of the community. Okay, does that answer that?
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. I'll let you know if somebody else writes something in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. Here's just so you can get a little idea of what these trees might look like. These are examples of commonly planted. Um, these are not native. They're what we call exotic trees. So they're not from California originally, but they do very well, and they are not. They don't need a lot of water. So that's why we call them drought tolerant, meaning they tolerate long periods without water. These are beautiful trees that are doing extremely well. The African fern pine, mind you, these photos are of young trees. The African fern pine will be 3 or 4 times that size. It can be 70 feet tall with full grown. The strawberry tree in the middle, they call it a strawberry tree because they do produce a small fruit that's edible and it is quite tasty, but it's not a real strawberry. You you may know that strawberries grow on vines on the ground, but they call it a strawberry tree and it's a beautiful shade tree. The Chinese flame, the Brisbane box, these are trees that you're going to be seeing in your neighborhood soon. The natives that we like to use include the coast live oak, California sycamore, redbuds, and catalpas. Our native trees are all adapted to the weather and the climate in Southern California. So they're naturally what we call drought tolerant. They don't need a lot of water. They don't like a lot of water. And that's a good thing for us to plant to conserve water. You know, some trees, if they're from other areas like um, tropical areas where they're used to a lot of rain, you can plant them in Los Angeles, but you're going to have to water them a lot to keep them alive, and that's wasteful. So we try to stick with either native trees or trees that don't require a lot of water. So this little plan is our very basic layout of what the new park right there on 54th Street, where the running and exercise track is now. We're going to be putting in additional trees because there's no shade there. I mean, it's nice that they have an exercise track, but if it's hot outside, who wants to go out there, you know, and use it? So we would like to add some trees to give it more shade. But there's a lot of room there that's just not being used. And as far as we know, we're going to be working with the community to see, you know, how they want to how what they would like the park to be. But part of what we do is create what we call rain gardens. They're like sunken gardens that collect water. If it rains, the water has a place to collect and then absorb into the ground, and that helps the plants and the trees grow without us having to irrigate them. We use natural rainwater to water our trees with these rain gardens. And there's room for at least 2 or 3 of them and a bunch of new trees there. And this is going to be a whole other opportunity for the youth, to help us get to come up with a good design. Here's some examples. We're working right now in East Los Angeles. This is a public housing site called Maravilla. It's, like I said, in East Los Angeles. Up in the right-hand corner, you see their landscaping is kind of drying out, doesn't look too good, lots of dirt patches. And then the main photo on the left you can see is what it can look like when we add these native and drought tolerant plants. So just because a tree or a plant is native doesn't mean that they're like brown and ugly. They can be very colorful and pretty. And most of them are quite beautiful, as you see here. Here's some examples of native or drought tolerant plants, the ones that we are using in Maravilla. And you can see these, we'll be using many of these also at Pueblo. So for example, the white sage, beautiful silvery white leaves. They're fragrant, they smell beautiful. The Winifred Gilman sage, also quite beautiful. Black sage, they all have flowers and they smell wonderful. Aloe is a good plant, actually very medicinal as well, but they have beautiful flowers. Now that's not native, but they do well. They're drought tolerant. Monkey flower, penstemon, buckwheat, and fuchsia. These are all flowering shrubs that do not require a lot of water. And I see there's a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know about 5 more minutes, Aaron.
Got you. Finally, in closing, we always like to hire and train and motivate young people in the communities where we work. And you'll notice on the left, we've worked at Pueblo for years. And I hired a whole crew there. We had classes inside of the community center right there by the office. And we planted hundreds of trees there over the years. Part of my job is to also help connect young people with long-term employment. So some of my students have gone on to work for the city, the Recreation and Parks Department, or Urban Forestry Division. Some have gone to work for the LA Department of Water and Power. Some have gone to work for the National Park Service. I got a call today from one of my students who became an engineer. And another one of my students told me that he's going to start going to school for landscape architecture. So there are many possibilities for long-term employment and careers, and you can study this in college or university. This is a good stepping stone. Working with the environment in your community should be fun and exciting, and you're doing a good thing every single day, and you get to see the results. And hopefully that encourages you to, like Diego and like David, study this if you want to go to college, or try to get a position in the city and work your way through a government, agency. That's also a possibility. You don't always have to go to a university to develop a career in urban forestry, but you could do both. And my job is to give you all the resources, the connections, the training to get you to that next step. And with that, my friend Gama put this last image in here. It's like fractals or something of a tree, which is so beautiful. And I heard recently in a TED talk that just the fractal, when the brain looks at trees, it calms down and feels better. The human brain needs to see these fractals, these sort of lights, and these beautiful designs that nature gives us. And you're going to see this all over Pueblo and all in the neighborhood all around it soon. It'll look like this everywhere. With that, does anyone have any questions for me? Don't be shy. Urban forestry is all about planting trees is a social act. It's going to take everyone, a community, to do it.
I have
Okay.
a question. So
Sure.
you mentioned about hiring local youth to help you in other projects. Kind of like, what tasks do they assist you with, or what would they be learning about?
Well, my trainings include arboriculture. Arboriculture is the science of planting and caring for trees. That's always one of the cornerstones of the training that I give people. And that would include, so some of the tasks include planting the tree itself and then taking care of that tree, because trees do require at least 3 to 5 years of care. Just like a human baby, you don't just bring a baby into the world and just let it fend for itself. You got to take care of it until it's strong enough to take care of itself. So there's going to be tasks including tree maintenance and tree care. The park improvements will include irrigation and horticulture, and there could be opportunities to provide input on design. So for people who are interested in landscape architecture, that's an opportunity. We will be using current technologies for example, when we conduct our surveys or do community outreach in the neighborhoods. We'll be using GIS. We'll be using devices to track where every single tree is and conduct surveys, which is also part of the training and tasks that have to happen. Outreach is a big part of what we do, and we will need as many people as we can to help us, encouraging people to help us take care of their trees. Training and teaching people why trees are important. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't know, that a tree is that important, but we have to really get people educated quickly, because these trees could save our lives, literally. And so doing outreach is going to be another important task in our project.
One thing I wanted to add real quick. Thanks so much, Aaron, for joining us and for sharing that. I think a lot of the youth are inspired from me just looking at the comments that we're getting from people. They love to see the beautiful trees, beautiful plants. But I wanted to add that although this youth program that we have for you all is ending in August, there will be opportunities to potentially bring this youth team on board separately to support Northeast Trees once we're ready to do that outreach. So we have your emails, we have your contact information. We'll pass that along to the folks at Northeast Trees, Aaron, Gama, and the folks that you've met already, so that they can reach out to you and basically have you all be the priority to the folks that are recruited for this work coming up.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. It's wonderful to meet everyone. Feel free to reach out to me through Diego or David. I'm I'm an older person, but don't worry. I'm a nice person, and I love doing this kind of work and getting young people involved. That's my specialty. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you're interested in. When we start this work in the fall, we're going to be starting to get this project, the planting plans together. You can certainly reach out to me if you're interested in working with us.
Great. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
presentation.
You're welcome. I'm going to stop sharing now.
There we go. Again, Aaron, thank you. You should be able to see my screen. If you can't, let me know or type it in the chat box. I'll give you a few seconds, but I assume everybody can see my screen. All right, so Aaron, thank you for your presentation and also discussing a little bit about aqueducts. Aqueducts and water infrastructure is one of my own personal areas of interest, so that's, you'll see that later. But we're going to talk a little bit about drought and water conservation. As if you've read the newspapers or seen the news in the last few weeks or months, I'm sure you know that California is currently in a situation of extreme drought. What does drought mean? Drought just means that there's a long period of drier than normal conditions that result in issues or problems related to water. It can last from a few weeks to years. And just so that we can distinguish this, just because it's hot and dry doesn't mean that it equals drought. Drought really depends far more on how much rain and snow falls and how that's related to historical records of rain and snow, especially snow, because it melts, obviously it melts, so it takes a little bit longer to get down into the lakes. The less rainfall and snowfall that we get, it means that soil dries up. There isn't enough water to replenish it. And that also means that plants die, crops will wither, and that water levels of lakes, reservoirs, and wells are going to drop. The drought conditions in California have grown in the last 2 years. As you can see from the screen, this is a map produced by the California Water Boards showing the last 3 Mays, May 2019, May 2020, and May 2021, just showing how in 3 years, most of California is now in the situation of extreme drought, and I'm sure it's gotten worse since May in the few months that have passed since then. And the majority of California was in extreme drought, and that includes its big population areas, the San Francisco Bay Area, the Central Valley, most of Los Angeles. In May 2021, the only part of California that was in a moderate drought situation was either far northern coast of California, which doesn't have a lot of people, it's a lot of forests. It's beautiful, I'm told. But also San Diego County and the Imperial Valley had moderate drought. I don't know how that's changed in those 2 months, but I'm sure it's gotten far worse. Speaking of aqueducts, here we go. Between July 2020 and July 2021, Los Angeles received about 5.8 inches of rain, which is about 41% of what it normally receives. This information comes from a Los Angeles Times article about a month ago. And what that means, comparing that to the historical record, is that between July 2018 and June 2021, Los Angeles received about 92% of what's considered normal. So it's a bit colorful. Right now, Los Angeles has received less rain than it normally does or has in the last few years. So in this drought situation. But as Aaron mentioned, most of Los Angeles's water comes from other parts of California. There are 3 main aqueducts, and Aaron, please correct me if I get any part of this wrong. There's the California Aqueduct, also known as the State Water Project, which brings water from over 400 miles away in far northern California. There's the Colorado River Aqueduct, which brings water from Lake Mead, which is where the Hoover Dam is outside Las Vegas. If you ever can, I recommend you go visit the Hoover Dam. It's free, it's great. And the other aqueduct is the Los Angeles Aqueduct. Both the Colorado River and Los Angeles aqueducts are both over 200 miles long, and they bring water through different either pipes or open channels. It all changes depending on geography. And here, just a little, this photo that you see here on the left, it shows actually 2 of the aqueducts that bring water to Los Angeles where they crisscross. So the channel at the bottom, the open canal, that's the California Aqueduct, which, as I mentioned, brings water from Northern California. The pipe that's above it, that's the Los Angeles Aqueduct. So that brings water from Owens Lake, the Owens River Valley, and further north. This photo is in Neenach. It's a small rural community at the far northern border of LA County. So I recommend it. It's totally open. I took this photo about 3 years ago. Here's an example of extreme drought. This photo is of a marina in Folsom Lake, just outside Sacramento. So that boardwalk would be for people to walk to get to their boats on a regular, not dry lake. But because it's completely dry, you can see that people are actually walking on the dry lake bed. So this is an example of extreme drought. You know, it can cause major stress on the water supply system. It can make governments choose between providing water to agriculture or providing water to cities or other lakes or bodies of water. Some of this has come up in the last few weeks, actually. The extreme drought can also lead to wildfires and severe dry conditions and dust storms. You know, if the soil is dry, if plants dry up, they're more easily will go up in flames and can cause a fire, which can then go out of control and burn, like in Northern California at the moment. So what plants use a lot of water? When Los Angeles was built, they kind of tried to create this very green, natural look, but green meant lawn. And lawns use a lot of water. Keeping lawns green uses a lot of water. I'm sure if you've looked around your neighborhoods, you've noticed that a lot of lawns go brown. It seems like with more heat, it's impossible to keep them green. They use a lot of chemicals and other fertilizers in order to stay green as well. Other places or other types of plants or I guess open spaces that use a lot of water are, for example, golf courses. They're almost all lawn. They require a lot of water to remain green 365 days of the year. So in neighborhoods that have large lawns and golf courses generally use more water than neighborhoods that don't have large lawns or don't have golf courses, such as Pueblo del Rio. We would see, I think, a lot more water conservation, water being conserved, I should say, if a lot of these like bigger, more intensive uses of water, such as golf courses and lawns, would be replaced with more drought tolerant and Southern California native plants. That's kind of my own opinion, is that we don't need lawns. As an example, Nevada a few months ago passed a law to remove 1/3 of grass from all of Southern Nevada. So that's Las Vegas primarily. And they have to remove 1/3 of that grass by 2027. Las Vegas, I should say, has been in drought for 2 decades. So there is a way to do this by law in order to make it so that we remove grass and use less water, but also people can also use that either where they live, or if they have a business that has a lawn, they can also change things so they can use less water there. This photo was sent to me by Joe, who is also at Northeast Trees. This is an example of a low water use garden that Northeast Trees installed in Florence Firestone, just maybe a mile or a mile and a half south of Pueblo del Rio. Those plants can withstand drought and heat, so they're designed in order to not use too much water and also, you know, thrive in this climate. So drought tolerant plants and trees, as Aaron has mentioned, they're very important to reduce water and energy usage. A lot of water is used to irrigate private lawns, front and backyards, which are water intensive and usually have plants that require a lot of water in order to survive in climates that have so much heat like Los Angeles is. So what we need to do is use or change the plants that we plant, change where we plant trees so they can provide shade and which trees we plant, but also we need to change how cities are built in order to capture water and filter it and make it stay, so we can use as much water of the little water that falls in Los Angeles, so it just doesn't go untreated into, say, the LA River or any of the other channels, the Dominguez Channel, and straight into the ocean. So some benefits of trees, as we've mentioned in the past, is that trees remove about 5 tons of carbon dioxide every year. That's about 1 car's worth of emissions. 100 trees remove about 1,000 pounds of pollutants every year. So if you use that math with the estimates for the South Central LA Greening Project, which is about 775 trees in total, that should remove about 3,000 pounds of ozone and 2,300 pounds of particulates, of these small little particles in the air. So removing pollution, reducing pollution, these are some of the benefits of trees. Trees can obviously improve air quality. They can provide shade to reduce the urban heat island effect, which we talked about at the past workshop. They can capture stormwater in their roots, as Aaron mentioned. They're also great at capturing carbon and storing it, and also creating habitat for animals. So it's not just humans who benefit, but animals as well, birds, squirrels, other types of wildlife, raccoons, possums maybe. And this tree on the left is a California pepper tree. So I'm sure you've seen this throughout Los Angeles. There's actually a few of them on the block that I live on. In Spanish, they're called pirul. They're a great tree. I really like them. They have these like little small red peppercorns, but they're not really a pepper tree, I believe. And then in the last workshop, we talked about some of the benefits of trees, the social and economic benefits, such as reducing stress and agitation, providing people an opportunity to experience and connect with nature, which is also important. You know, it's really hard to assign a dollar value to that, but I think something that's psychological is also very important. You want to make sure that people also feel happy in their surroundings, not just thinking about, oh, we can save this much water or air. Trees can also help provide privacy. With their branches, they can hide windows, reduce noise, and lower energy costs. Here, this graph, this little diagram, which we've showed in other workshops, to show an example of how to plant trees in order to provide shade. This example is from the Colorado State University of how to landscape for energy conservation. So having trees in the northern end, evergreens to protect from wind. And on the southern, both southeast and southwest end, you have deciduous trees, trees that shed their leaves in the fall, so that they can provide shade during the hot months, and they can let sunlight come in during the colder months. I think this applies more to areas where it snows, and it is colder and less so here in California. But this is one example of how it is that trees provide benefits and how different trees can, be selected in order to provide whatever benefits people are looking for. If there are any questions, always feel free to raise your hand or write in the chat box. Please interrupt me. Another way that we can use plants in order to capture water and make sure that we conserve it are bioswales. This photo is of a bioswale installed at the parking lot for the Los Angeles Zoo. This photo was taken in 2011, and it's from a blog called the LA Creek Freak. It's a good blog. I think it's quiet by now, but they did a lot of good work with trying to track old creeks of Los Angeles that were either paved over or put underground in pipes. So it's fun. But this is an example of a bioswale. What a bioswale is, it's designed to capture water from the parking lot using gravity. So the parking lot is built in a way so that water flows towards the bioswale, towards the green space. And there, where vegetation is, vegetation and soil will filter the water and either store it in the ground or use it up, at least to sustain the plants. And usually when you build a bioswale like this in the parking lot, it will have a bit of a like a dent or an opening in the concrete to allow water to come in. You can see that at the bottom of this photo. I don't know if that's to let water go in or to let water go out somewhere else. But this is an example of how like a bioswale looks like what can be done in, in our city that's built up, how you can change how things are designed in order to capture water. Because as you can see here in this picture, and as you can see when you go out on the street, cities are built in a way where water doesn't get, they're built in a way so that water just runs off concrete and asphalt and takes pollution with it, motor oils, dirt, etc., brake dust. So what we need to do is change how cities are built in order to slow down that water, capture it, and filter it. Because especially in an area like Los Angeles, we get so little water that it's important that we save every drop. I'm going to give Katya some moments to catch up. Are there any questions? I haven't been to the zoo in about 6 years, so I don't know. All right. So the program that Aaron mentioned, the program that we've mentioned in the past and we will continue to mention because it's great and it's free. Oh, sorry, before I continue, there's a question that's related to the bioswale. And the bioswale like this protect the parking lot. Uciel, I'm not, could you unmute yourself and kind of explain what you mean by protect? Do you mean provide shade? Oh, such as flooding or water erosion. I don't know so much about water engineering. You can use bioswales in order to slow down the water. I think flooding has to do a bit more with how big the drain pipes are or grates, and also how much water has fallen. So if a lot of water has fallen in a short amount of time, it might be too much to handle, so it might still flood. But yeah, I think it can help with water erosion. The important thing is with bioswales or how things are designed is trying to make sure that water goes where you want it to go. And that's the way to protect from erosion at the edges of parking lots or elsewhere. Continuing on, City Plants is a great program. Aaron has mentioned it. Northeast Trees is one of the partners with City Plants. There's a link in the chat if you would like to learn about it. But as mentioned, residents of the city of Los Angeles can request free trees for their yards if they install them themselves or for the street, and that will be installed by City Plants. Here in this photo, you can see that a tree was installed in the street between the curb and the sidewalk. So that was installed by City Plants. City Plants offers mostly lower water use shade trees in order to cool down cities and reduce the water that's needed for it to thrive. With City Plants, if it's installed in the street, like in the photo, or on a private yard, the deal is that the property owner or renter will be in charge of taking care of the tree, watering it, tending to it as needed. But these should not take as much as water. Also, the website for City Plants, I think, includes instructions on how often to water and what else to do. So City Plants is a great program overall. If you want more info, the phone number is here on the slides. It's 866-484-0433. And you can also visit the website and learn far more about this program. City Plants is a great program. We're now going to get into LA Department of Water and Power programs that are for reducing water usage and saving money. If there are any questions about what I've said earlier, please ask at any time, but I'm just going to continue on. But going back to this, the LADWP does have a number of programs to save water and to save money, but those programs are aimed primarily at home or business owners. The programs are usually for replacing lawn with other types of plants, helping with installing irrigation, helping with financing repairs to the home to provide more insulation. So for these, you need the approval of the property owner. So we're going to talk about them in a bit, but I understand that Pueblo del Rio is obviously in public housing, and many of the residents who live in the neighborhood around Pueblo del Rio are renters. So they may not apply to you as much, but I still want people to know. So if there's any point that you want to do this or can do this, you should seek it out. One thing that's open to everyone that anybody can go to is the California Friendly Landscaping in Los Angeles website. It explains, it's a website by the LADWP. It has plant lists, ideas on how to design your garden, information about irrigation, about what equipment you can use, and advice for maintaining a garden that does not use a lot of water. And it also has photos of completed projects and examples of them from throughout the city of LA. It also provides you with something that I found out. It has sample construction documents based on the neighborhood that you live in, or the climate, I should say. So if you live around Pueblo del Rio, you get the LA Basin. That would be the one for you. That one has a sample of how to plant and how to design a garden and what plants would go where and what irrigation you would need. And it has some photos and some drawings to show that too. So it's a cool website if you ever want to use that as inspiration for redesigning like a small garden or something else. The website's only available in English, sorry to say, but it's very helpful. So definitely something that everyone should explore. This is just an example of some of the plant lists they offer. They have many different categories. For example, here I took a screenshot, and you can select California native plants. You can also select plants that attract butterflies, birds, and hummingbirds. So these are just some examples of the lists that they have for you. And it's always super cool to design gardens or something that attracts as many things as possible, both save water, but also attract hummingbirds. I really like hummingbirds, so I really like that. There is this another program called Lawn Be Gone. It's hands-on workshops at home. What these hands-on workshops are, the LADWP organizes free workshops at private homes for homeowners to learn and practice how to remove turf or lawn, how to install drought-resistant and California native plants, how to install irrigation equipment, and how to capture rainwater. The workshops begin again in September. And right now, when I checked last week, I believe they have 2 per month, and it's all throughout the city of Los Angeles. So one week it could be in the San Fernando Valley. The next week it could be in East LA. Third week it could be down in Wilmington or San Pedro, etc. So it moves around the city, and it all depends on a private homeowner. It could be your neighbor or someone to apply and to get accepted into this program. Here, this photo is, you can see they're actually removing lawn with, I think it would call it a matic in English, talache in Spanish, Mexican Spanish. But the website is lawnbegone.ladwp.com. So these are these workshops that they offer for you to learn this in person. Oh, there's more. You can either host a workshop or go to somebody else's workshop. But yeah, there are workshops right now from September to January. They have different phone numbers and emails you can reach out to with questions. One is, so if you have questions about hosting, you can email the email at the bottom of these slides. If you want to learn more information about the program and how to apply and how to participate, you can visit their website, which is lawnbegone.ladwp.com. You can email waterconservation@ladwp.com, or you can also call their phone number 1-800-544 4498 and press extension 5 to get more information about being part of this program and participating in it if you're interested. A related program to the other ones is the turf replacement design program. What this program does, it gives homeowners free landscape design services in order to replace their turf or lawn with California friendly and native plants. So if a homeowner applies and gets accepted to this program, LADWP will connect them with a landscape architect who will design a unique planting and irrigation plan for the property, free of charge. The plants can be directly provided from that landscape designer to a contractor for them to install it, or they can be handed direct to the homeowner, who will be in charge of finding a contractor to follow the plan if they want to follow that. It has a lot of requirements and it requires an application. If there are too many to go into detail, if you want to learn more, go to designyourgarden.ladwp.com. You can email trds@ladwp.com. This image on the left is a sample image from their website. It kind of shows you what one of the sheets would look like. So every different plant is represented by a different symbol and kind of how to go together. You can see paths. You can see the tree canopy. That's broken circle line. And a few of them, and if you look at the roof, you can see that it has arrows pointing in different directions. My assumption is that means where water flows, based on how the roof, the eaves, how they're built. As an example of the design services they offer. So yeah, I understand these are primarily for homeowners and may not be open to everyone at Pueblo del Rio or around in Council District 9 or Central Alameda. But there are some other programs that LADWP offers for residents, renters too, for them to reduce their water usage. One of them is LADWP offers free water conservation items. I'm sure some of you have, I believe for the youth team, I think at a past workshop, some of you mentioned actually getting things from the some of these items in the past. That's great to know that you know about them. But LADWP offers free shower heads and bathroom and kitchen faucet aerators to all of its customers. It's free of charge. These shower heads and aerators, what they do is they reduce the flow of water and they add more air into the mixture, so it feels like there's higher water pressure when there isn't. So that means that hopefully people will use less water when they're showering or when they're running their kitchen faucet to wash dishes or to cook. To receive free water conservation items, you can either call the phone number 1-800-544-4498 and press 5. You can email water conservation at ladwp.com. You just have to give them your address, your phone number, and how many of each of these you want to get, how many shower heads, how many bathroom faucet aerators, and how many kitchen faucet aerators you would like. We can also help you connect you with the LADWP. When the meeting ends, we can talk if you're interested, or at the very least, you can give me like your phone number or your email and we can talk at some other time so you can get some of these items if you want. You know, they're free of charge, but we can connect you. We'd be happy to connect you if you'd like. Are there any questions so far? There we go. Davi added a link in the chat box with how to request them directly from the LADWP website. So I recommend you click on it, and I'm sure you can do it in English and Spanish. Okay, I know we talked about this in the last workshop, but I still want people to know in case they missed it. The LA Department of Water and Power has some financial assistance programs. While these are not, say, specifically about saving water or saving energy, what they're for is for people to save money. One program that they have is this low income discount program. It's like the name says, it's for low households with low income. It depends on the number of people who are in the household. You know, the chart on the left shows you the maximum annual gross income in order to qualify. If for a family of 4, that maximum annual gross income is $52,400 a year. Customers who apply must provide proof of income regularly from everyone in the household in order to qualify, but also to continue to be part of this program. One thing to know is that this program can't be combined with the other financial assistance programs that I'm going to mention in the next few slides. So you have to choose either this one or one of the other ones if you qualify for more than one, which is definitely possible. If you want more information about this program, you should call 1-800-342-5397 for more information. David posted a link on the chat to get directly to their website. You can also use that, and they can translate between English and Spanish very easily. All right. Other programs that are available for financial assistance is there's a senior citizen / disability lifeline program. That's for customers who are 62 years of age or older, or for people who are permanently disabled regardless of age. It's a program that's offered by the city of Los Angeles, I believe, and it applies to many utility bills such as gas, telephone, so you can use it for more than one. It does have a household income limit of $47,300, but I don't know if that applies based on family size or if it's just for any family, regardless of how many people live in it. But you have to apply. It requires proof of age, your copies of your utilities bills, and your proof of income for everybody in the household. If you want more information, you should call the phone number at the bottom. It's 213-978-3050. That will connect you to their office in City Hall or City Hall East, and you can apply or ask for more questions and assistance through that. If somebody in the house regularly uses essential life support devices, such as electric wheelchairs, respirators, dialysis machines, apnea, sleep machines, and others, you can qualify for the life support equipment discount. If you want more information, you should call 1-800-342-5397 for more information, especially to know if you have a machine that's not one of the ones that are listed. You can ask them. They can let you know if you qualify. One thing that I forgot to mention is that for all of these discounts, it doesn't say online how much you will save. So I believe that's going to depend on your income or your situation. So if you want to know how much you could save, I recommend you call these programs or look on the website and send an email. I'm sure they can let you know. An additional additional program to save money is the physician certified allowance discount. What this means is that the LEDWP will provide a discount if for anyone or for any household that has someone who is paraplegic, quadriplegic, has multiple sclerosis or other neuromuscular conditions or immune illnesses or other sorts of life-threatening illnesses. It does require an official letter from a California doctor in order to apply for this program. But if somebody qualifies or you just want more information, you should call the phone number 1-800-342-5397 to get more information. I'm sure they can provide you a list of which type of illnesses qualify as life-threatening or any other conditions that will help you qualify for this discount. One thing that I forgot to say is that the senior citizen and disability discount, the life support equipment discount, and the physician certified allowance discount can be combined. But if you want more information, you should reach out to the LADWP and they can let you know exactly how they can be combined and how much you can save. Are there any questions so far? I know we're running close to our end. All right. So this next part, David, feel free to jump in whenever you like. But we, at the next workshops in 2 weeks, we're going to launch anonymous surveys in English and Spanish to learn about what you, Pueblo del Rio residents and Pueblo del Rio neighbors, would like to see at the wellness station and also at the park at the corner of 54th and Morgan, the one with the running track that Aaron mentioned in his presentation a while ago. We want to know, for example, these workshops and survey will directly influence the design sketches and the final design of this site. So it's really important that you fill it out and be as honest as what you would like or would not like. We are going to share the questions right now, and we ask that you respond by either turning on your microphone or write them in the chat, any answers you may have. So first of all, we just want to know like how often you visit the wellness station, or if you don't visit the wellness station, also let us know that. But also we'd like to know what you would like to see there in order to meet your needs, or what you would like to see there. So feel free to write that in the chat box or to unmute yourself and share that with us.
So just to add, so you all are getting a taste of what questions we'll be asking to all folks in the community, and it'd be super helpful for you all to help us share this link and this survey with those around you, with your friends, your family, with everyone that lives, this your neighbor. So as we get ready to launch this survey, just getting as much input as possible, whether or not somebody uses the wellness station, it'd be just really great to get their input, whether or not they visit that track on 54th and Morgan. Like their input on these two surveys that we'll be putting out will just be absolutely helpful to just understand how we can create a place that's welcoming, that can really provide more comfortable space for people around Pueblo del Rio. We're so close to the finish line of today's meeting. I'm hoping folks just get up and stretch real quick as we ask this question that Diego just mentioned.
So as David was talking, it is, we are asking about the wellness station and the other little park, and we want to know if you go there, what you like about it. But if you don't, we also are equally interested about knowing if you don't go, why is it that you don't go? And is there something that could change that will make you more interested in going? Because we want to make sure that it's something that works for everyone, both people who currently use it, but also people who don't use it yet, but maybe they want something there that will make it attractive for them to go. So we're interested in all the answers. We have an answer in the chat box. That's great. But yeah, the first question we are going to ask is about how often people visit the wellness station and what they would like to see in order for to meet their needs. Oh, right. Question 1, how often do you visit the LA Wellness Station? And question 2, how much time do you spend at the wellness station? So, yeah, if you'd like to share, feel free to write it in the chat, or unmute yourself and share it with us. Or you can wait until the survey is ready and you can share it anonymously there too. Great. Yeah, so 2 questions. For the record, it's going to be a short survey, just 5 questions. anonymous in both English and Spanish. So it won't take you more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you really want to go deep. The third question of the survey will be, how often do you use the outdoor spaces of the wellness station? So that's the green space that's around inside the fence and the playground. That's what we would like to know. Question 4, what features or elements would you like to see at the wellness station? And we offer a few options that are on the right. And we will also have the option for other, where you will be able to respond with whatever we missed. So we would like to know if we would like, say, plants for wildlife, trees or other sort of shade cover, irrigation elements such as buried clay pots or some other irrigation methods that don't use PVC plastic, tree stumps for sitting, and waiting areas and benches for a group. These are the options we're going to offer, but also if there's something that's missing or there's an option you would like to see here, feel free to let us know. We're obviously going to take your feedback into consideration, and we really appreciate it if you share with us.
Hey, Diego.
Yes.
I just want to jump in here real quick and say, you all have seen some options tonight, planting trees and other things that we can do to conserve water. But there are a lot of other things that we haven't included, and rain barrels, for example, used all over the world, capturing water off of rooftops and putting it in a barrel so that you can use that for irrigation. Gray water systems. Now, I know this is not something we can do quickly and easily, but it's important that we maybe do a little research and look at other options as well for this community. And we can start small, and what we have here now tonight is what we can work on immediately. But think big. You guys are the young people of today. You need to try to learn as much as you can, and let's start doing stuff in your community.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the feedback, I appreciate it. There was one question, there've been a few answers in the chat so far. One person said they would like to see many trees planted in the wellness station. We had a question about tree stumps, specifically how are termites dealt with in the tree stumps. He writes, we had a tree stump for some years and recently noticed termites got to it when I saw some sawdust. Do either Davi or Aaron, do you have any information how
I can
treated?
add in something, and I know Aaron has a few things on just like things that eat the trees in general, not just for tree stumps. But one thing I wanted to add is for these tree stumps, I'm thinking of a specific place that processes like a ton of trees all over the city that get removed, and they're really well versed in processing these trees, properly treating these trees, removing any insects that are there, and then being able to convert them for basically for use as furniture, for use as trumps, as stumps that can really last long. These tree stumps are really treated with a material. I'm not sure exactly the name of the material, but I personally have used it at park spaces in my past job, where you have a like a 14 or 15 diameter inch tree stump that's basically treated with heat so that it removes the insects, and then it's also treated with a material so that it doesn't get it's weatherproof basically for a period of time, and you have to reapply this material after a certain amount of time. But yeah, those are some of the ways to deal with that insect, the termites that can deteriorate the tree stumps.
Great. Thanks for the information.
I would add also, not all wood is the same. And some trees, naturally, the wood does not, they're naturally protected against certain insects and pests. So cedar and redwood are very good woods. There's many other types of trees that if you pick the right kind, they're not as susceptible to insects and pests.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, I think as this project moves along, we will look for elements that both make sure that they live on for a long time without damaging the environment either at all or too much. There might be some chemicals need to be used, but try to keep it as natural as possible. Make sure that it's not affecting other areas nearby. And the fifth question, the last question of the survey, will be, what other elements are important for you to feel comfortable in the outdoor areas of the LA Wellness Station? And that could be anything that you feel is relevant for you to feel comfortable or welcome in this outdoor area around the Wellness Station. So this has been a preview of the survey. We're finishing it up, both this one and one for that little park at 54th and Morgan. Both surveys will ask the same question. Youth team members, you will see links from us once we have them. I think pretty soon we should have that for you, and we will see how we send this information or the links out for the public to fill out the surveys. But we will have this ready pretty soon. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this workshop. We have another workshop on Saturday of this week. That's Saturday, August 14th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It will feature the same presentation and the same information as the workshop right now. So if you don't feel you're going to miss something if you don't join us on Saturday, but please join us if you would like. The third workshop, where we will talk more about the surveys and some of the design sketches and the next steps for the project, both for people who might be interested in being part of a crew or how to remain involved with other elements in the future. We will talk about that at the next pair of workshops. That's Tuesday, August 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, August 28th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. All of the workshops use the same Zoom login information as today's workshop. So you should be ready to join us if you would like to join us. We are going to stick around. Well, sorry, before I go on any further, I want to thank Aaron for your time, for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and stepping in every so often. I also want to thank our two interpreters, Katya and Alexia. Thank you very much for stepping in and helping interpret between English and Spanish. Thank you very much. We're very grateful. Thank you to the youth team for being with us and for learning and for asking questions. We really appreciate it. But if people have any more questions, we're here. We have some time. You can say some extra time. I'm going to stop recording the workshop. If you have it, if you would like to, actually, as I said this, if you're interested in any of the LADWP water conservation items, stick around so that we can talk. I'll be happy to talk to you and either get your information or whatever it is that we need so we can either get it ready now or chat at some other time. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your night. And please join us on Saturday if you wish. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me or Davi. Our emails are here. Yes, thank you very much.